Hey, Amy, I got a message here. Says
Hi.
we are live on YouTube. Hey, Felicia, how are you guys this morning?
Yay!
I'm doing good, doing good. How
Good,
are you guys?
Awesome.
good,
Awesome.
good. Tired, but good. And only tired, not because of life, but because of my own poor decision to stay out too late, which if anyone knows me, like I am in bed, like I'm in the bed probably around 7 o'clock. Last night I was not in bed until midnight. So I feel a bit like a rebel this morning, like, wow, okay, I just did that. But my body is like, yeah, and you just did that. And you're just too old to be doing that. So don't do that again.
Yeah.
Oh, that just means
So
you're enjoying life. That's all.
yeah, that's right. That's right, Felicia.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to pick up where we left off, you guys, but I just want to give a brief recap of what we talked about. So we really started with the idea that we really cannot graduate from ever working in the business. Now, working in the business does begin to look differently, but what working in the business looks like on day one and also on day 1000 and day 100,000, right, is management. We can never actually graduate from the role of manager. And I know that that's a habituated word. You're probably tuning me out now. Don't do that, because how we manage at day one and how we manage at year 10 is all around this idea of numbers. And there are some numbers that really matter, and there's really only one number that we start with, and that's the return on investment. And so as a manager, we have to steward and manage what has been put before us as far as clients and prospects and products, and also staff and contractors and people that we owe money to, as far as, manufacturers and supply chain and that kind of thing. And so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about management. Now, that's the first and most important thing about business. So you don't hear us saying your business success hinges on the latest and greatest technology, marketing tactics, or buzzwords. Those are a part of the journey of success, but your business success does not hinge on that. It hinges on the realization that you cannot graduate from working in the business. You must remain the chief manager at all times, and that role evolves and looks different over the course of the life of the business. But the second thing that really matters to your business success is this idea of principle-based decisions. So you've got systems that are running the business. Those are the things you're managing. But people run those systems. You, the manager, the owner, the leader, the executive, are the person running those systems. And you yourself and me and Felicia and Shane have all been influenced by environments, cultures, beliefs, experiences that have shaped what we call principles. And when we're talking about principles, we are really talking about it from this. I'm actually going to read this definition to you, because I don't want to just talk from my own understanding. So this is what a principle is. It is a fundamental truth or position that serves as the foundation for a system or of belief. So you're running systems, but you're running systems from your own system of belief or behavior, or for a chain of reasoning. So last week we talked about the first of three really big principles we see that successful owners decide from. And I want to recap those really quickly. But the first one, we talked about the principle of honesty, and we all agreed that honesty is rewarded and dishonesty pays a very high price. And so Felicia had a really powerful point this morning. I said, let's park on honesty for a second. And Felicia, I would love for you to share with us just your own insight into this principle of honesty.
I think honesty is a twofold portion of the principle, right? Because when you're working with people, when you're either manufacturing goods or offering services, you do have to be honest with the people that you're working with, the people that you're serving. Absolutely. But more importantly, you have to be honest with yourself. So you have to ask yourself those hard questions. Am I doing the best that I can? Am I saying or doing what I said I would do? Am I following through on the promises that I made for my clients or for my staff or things along those lines? So you really have to ask yourself, and hopefully often enough, so that you can really look at these factors and figure out if they are what you need them to be, or do you need to make some changes? Because nobody wants to have to admit that, okay, yes, I said I would do this and I didn't. That even though we are all human and there are shortcomings in every aspect of our lives, but are we striving to make sure we're doing what we said we were going to do? And there's times machine error, human error will impede that, absolutely. But once somebody asks you that question, or once you're followed up on, then you really have to actually look. Oh, my cat. Then you really have to actually look at those factors and be honest. Like, don't make mistakes. Don't make excuses for a mistake. Mistakes do happen and people do understand that. But try to fix it. Try to be as upfront as you can about it. Try to figure out what happened and figure out ways to improve it, so those types of mistakes aren't being made again.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, yeah, it is good. Really good points there. I hope you had a pencil and a pen and to write down those probing questions. If not, just rewind. One thing that I am curious about, Felicia, is in your own just experience as a counselor, and you have seen dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people. What is a reason that we choose not to ask ourselves those probing questions?
One reason would be people don't know to ask them. You kind of have an understanding of what to do, and you just kind of follow through on what you've been taught or what you've been told. So sometimes you don't know to ask them. Other times you don't want the answers, right? That you could really feel, okay, I'm doing the best that I can. And then someone says, well, have you heard of this, or have you thought about that? And honestly, the answer is no, I haven't thought about this. I haven't heard about that. But there's a pride factor that tends to come out in people, especially people that have been doing something for a long time, and say, well, no, this is better because X, Y, or Z. But there are new things that come out. There are innovations that come out that could really further what you are doing if you are open to actually learning about it or trying to get to understand it. It may not be for you, or it may be for you, but people kind of get in their own way. The idea of change is scary for a lot of people. The unknown is very scary for a lot of people. So when we hit a situation where our pride is interfering with what we could do, or we don't know what would happen if we change something, that makes people shut down.
Boy, that's a big, what we're going to have to one day come back to the whole big conversation that you just touched on, Felicia, pride and fear. I really think at some level they are twin sisters. I mean, I know for me, I mean, you guys, I've been very candid about my own poor business decisions that led to the closure of my first business. And the reality is that those two big things, pride of, I think I can do this, and the second thing, I think I can do this better, really was the pride issue. And the second thing was fear of losing it all, fear of not being the first one to the finish line, just having these really bad ideas, and that were feeding actually these poor systems of belief that were feeding into my bad decisions, which were coming from pride and fear. And so it led me to be dishonest. It led me to cut corners. It led me to do things that I just would not do. Had I had addressed exactly what you just said, Felicia, and over the years I have, and man, it is a much different experience when you make decisions from principles, from conviction, with patience in mind, with a long game in mind, with the idea that, oh, I'm not just going to arrive one day and have mailbox money and be the lady that lunches and the sea of people are going to part when I walk through. I mean, let's just be honest. Those are some of the images that are fed to us, but that we also feed to ourselves because of pride. And so in that ego, that whole big, I am Amy, hear me, arrive, you know, like it doesn't work that way, which the second principle that we touched on last week was accountability. And really, accountability says I have an obligation and I am willing. So I have an obligation to be responsible and I am willing to be responsible or to account for one's actions. And that really is what accountability is. And we touched on that last week. You can go back and watch part 1, but I really want to wrap up this conversation with Felicia and Shane around the principle of quality products and services. I thought this was such a powerful quote, you guys. It says the value of products and services a company offers says more to the public about the real character of the company and its people than perhaps any other aspect of the company's life. Wow.
That's big.
Right? And okay, let's just be real honest, you two. So Felicia, you have a counseling practice. Shane, you have a coaching practice. I have a consulting agency, if that's what you want to call it. It's consulting. And the reality is that there is so many teachers telling us this is how you stagger all these offers, right? Give the people something free, which I believe there's got to be some time. But I think that the ethical bribe, as digital marketers call it, is my time. Come, let me invest my time with you. Let you get to know me and let me get to know you in a very high level integrity conversation, not me with my slideshow and slimy sales presentation, but really a process of time together. So this is what I believe is necessary. However, the training that is coming from ethical procedural teachers, and what do I mean by that? I mean people that have had training but not experience, or people that have had training and success but have yet to fail, which means they really haven't been in the game of business success long enough to be teaching us about quality goods and services and how to keep them at a high level. Because until you have tried multiple offers and failed, you're going to know right now that in the service industry and even in a product-based business, you have got to have some core products or a core service that you stake your entire reputation on. It's got to be where the conviction is and the passion. I mean, listen, Starbucks in 2018 brought back their previous chairman, Howard Schultz, because the company was in decline. Now, I want you to hear me, because Starbucks feels like a very big, like I'll never be Starbucks. No, but listen to what Starbucks said about their own value and their own quality management. This is exactly what this guy said in his memo to the company. He said, look, we have got to stop offering things like automatic espresso machines. We have to stop having cookie cutter store design. And this whole bagged coffee thing is literally making our product sterile. It's bringing down the value. We've got to get back to three things: a extreme obsession on the consumer. What do they want? How do we make them feel? What is our commitment to them? Then we've got to get a stable US business market. Stability is wildly important. And then third is, now we have to figure out how to take the obsession with the client, the stability of the business, and scale that, not by adding boom, boom, more stuff. I mean, if Starbucks is saying we have too much stuff, I think it's fair that we need to take a look at our own business models and say, what am I offering that I just don't have conviction in? And if you don't have conviction in it, you need to kill that thing right now, because quality products and services are where the value is. So when you put a price down in front of somebody for a service and they have had a demonstration of its value, then they will say that this is exactly what will happen in the brain. They will say, I can see why that there is value here. And you will eliminate the question of what else costs this much. And that's what we're trying to do, is offer such a great quality product and service that we can eliminate that question in the consumer's mind. But if we follow some of these explicit teachers and procedural business leaders that are saying, hey, have a free offer, give everybody this free product, then offer them something for, $100. Now offer them a course for $500. Now offer them proximity to you for $10,000. Okay, I'm going to tell you the real down and dirty and the truth of that strategy. It works when you have an email list of 300,000 people or more. That's when that works. That's when that works. So there is like 0.5% of influencers, and that's what they are. The Tony Robbins of the world, the Brendan Burchards, the Amy Porterfields, the John Maxwells, the Zig Ziglars. These kind of people have spent years and loads, millions and millions and millions of dollars to build a list that they can offer multiple products to. So when someone views them from a distance and is like, well, look at all their followers, look at all of their success, that must be the path. What they don't know is that strategy doesn't work until you have levels of audiences that are, some people can't pay you or won't pay you. Then some people are willing to pay the sky to get proximity to you because you're known. I mean, it's not, again, that pride leads us to believe we can charge $25,000 for a 3-month engagement because we are who we are. Who are you? Who am I? Right? So we have to stake our claim on one good service and product. And we talk about this a lot. I mean, Shane, Chick-fil-A is a great case study. And Shane has become like I think he is becoming, they have not said this, but I can see the results and I can see the title coming, the premier Chick-fil-A agile coach, man, because you are doing such tremendous work with the Chick-fil-A owners and teams that you're working with. And I think that they're a great case study. I mean, look, they offer a quality, they literally take Sundays off. They take pride in their product. They offer a fair price. They are internally funded and their customers are the best advertisement. And they only, they're only operating 6 out of 7 days of the week. So, and this is how they have come to avoid burnout in their staff. They force a closure so that people will rest. I mean, talk about integrity and quality and value.
Yeah,
I would just be so curious what you have observed around this principle of quality products and services as you've had proximity to that company.
Yep. So a couple of things that come to mind. Number one, they have a very clear vision. They want to be the world's most caring company. So that just strikes me right off the bat as unique and different and special. So it's not to achieve $1 billion sales in a single, $1 billion worth of sales in a single year. That's not their vision. Their vision is to become the world's most caring company. So that permeates everything they do. They are putting other people at the center of their vision. That's huge. The other thing that I see is they focus on 4 key things. So now imagine if you've ever been into a Chick-fil-A restaurant, this is a well-oiled machine. There are moving parts and pieces all over the place, but there are only 4 things that are most important to them. The first thing is they want to make sure that this service they deliver is fast. They want the speed in which you come through that experience to be quick because they know that matters to you. They also want order accuracy because they know there's nothing more frustrating than when you pull away from that drive-through window and you get to the stop sign to get back on the highway to go home, and you look and there's the wrong thing in there. Like, you can't be the world's most caring company if that's happening, right? So then they also know it's not good enough just to be, delivering within a speed that is exceptional and having your order very accurate. The taste of that food is super important for them. So quality matters, right? The engineering that goes into that unique Chick-fil-A taste, it's not just happenstance. This is a well orchestrated plan that is measured at every inch through the process, right? And then finally, they want to make sure that your interaction with that Chick-fil-A team member demonstrates the care that represents a company who says they are the most caring company in the world. And they measure every one of those things on a daily basis. So those are things that I think, what is it that delivers this level of quality? It's attention to detail. It's focusing on the other. I've never seen a company who has a quality product or service that is internally focused. A company who's asking what's in it for me is not going to be a company who stands out as it relates to quality and service. It just doesn't happen. It's also a company, that gets fragmented with its offering. You're like, hey, I had a winner and now I'm going to expand. Maybe this will work. Maybe that'll work. This leveling up, if you try to do this before you are that influencer with 300,000 people on a list, you will be perceived this way. You'll be perceived as trying to gain something from the market, and they will push away from you because the market determines the value of the quality that you're offering. You don't. They determine the value of it. So Chick-fil-A, if you look at the sign that's out front of every Chick-fil-A, it says the home of the original chicken sandwich. They offer more than a chicken sandwich, but that's that is the core product that everything else comes off of. So if you want to learn a lesson from Chick-fil-A, narrow down your focus, place your client at the center of the equation, and measure that experience that they are having to see what the value is they're placing on what you're providing, and they'll tell you where to improve too.
Isn't that so good? Okay, so let's just unpack a thing or two here. Okay. So I think it's very interesting. And you're right. Like, there's the chicken sandwich. And if you think about it, everything is a complement to it.
Yes.
It is not like a chicken sandwich and then, if you feel like a hamburger. There's one staple in the middle, right? And I have that in my own business. There is one thing, and then everything else supports that one thing. Well, what is it? It is the technology that has been tested and proven to get you clients through automation. And there's only one thing. And so then everything we do supports getting this thing where it needs to be, so it will go do what you want it to do, which is always be acquiring new clients, right?
Yep.
And off of this also comes the automation for the model, but this remains the core value. Just like Chick-fil-A, they got their chicken sandwich, but hey, we offer breakfast, but it's also chicken on a biscuit, right? So both automation, both chicken, just at two different times in the process of the client's journey. Okay. I also think it is very interesting that the first of the four things they focus on is speed. How many times, and we measure these things, how many times have I said to service providers, look, this idea of these courses and set it and forget it, and you can just go on your way and have this laptop lifestyle on the beach and, be pregnant and barefoot and never have to go look and figure out your content and never have to redo it again, is a farce. You can do that, but it's not going to be a predictable acquisition, a predictable conversion, and you can't scale something you're not paying attention to. But the very first thing you have to give people so they trust you is speed. So here's the reality. I want what I want, and I want it now. That's what technology and algorithms, that's Google's whole thing. How can we be the premier search engine that gets accuracy, precision in the fastest possible way so that people keep using our search engine and not use somebody else's search engine. It's the same thing with Chick-fil-A. Get the people what they want at the fastest possible speed, right? So my clients don't come to me for this. Like, we're not coming and saying, give me my hot Chick-fil-A sandwich at the drive-thru, at the window. No, we're saying, get me through this line as fast as possible so I can get my hot chicken sandwich, right? So my clients come to me and say, I need you to help me figure out who it is that I'm now going to use technology to go get. Okay, then that's what we do first. That's what all of these sticky notes tell me on the back page. I want what I want, and I want it fast. I want to know who this person is. That's what I'm missing in the equation. That's what I want first. So I'm telling you, I spend time, I listen, I keep notebooks, I document every question, everything that's needed so that people, I can literally with accuracy and precision get them what they want first, because that's what's important to them. Just like you said, I don't determine the value. If I determined the value, it would be, here's all of your assets that I built for you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
But that is not right.
Take them and run.
Yeah, that is not what my clients want. Just like at Chick-fil-A, for many, many years, you went through the drive-thru and you talked to a box. Now you're talking to a line of people. Why? Because they determined at some point this human experience was valuable to their consumer and set them apart from McDonald's or KFC and Church's Chicken and Popeye's Chicken, because there's people in our line and people make things happen fast.
That's right.
Right. Yep. People can ensure you get what you want, that everything's in the bag, that it's hot, that you haven't forgotten your ketchup, and that you've paid, so that when you leave there, you don't have to come back. Right. Yes. And so that matters to that consumer, just like your consumer, Felicia, my consumer, Shane, your consumer, everyone listening to this, they also have a measurement of value, and you have to know what that is. The only way to know what that is to attend to listening. We have to be good listeners. We have to ask really good questions that don't get us low-level responses like age, socioeconomic status, race, and news input. Those things are the beginning, but we need to dig deeper below the surface and ask questions that help us discover what is motivating them. When we know what motivates people, we know why they're doing something. So motivation is a huge driver. We got to get below the surface and ask those questions. And that's how Chick-fil-A came to these 4 things. They measure. You said even the taste of the food is very important. The quality and speed of my technology is important to my clients. So everything is measured. Everything is we make sure that the accuracy is so good and so fast. I don't say, hey, you get to use whatever platform you want. I say, no, with confidence. If you do not use these platforms, you will lose online. You will spend more money, and it will take you longer to get new clients than your competition. So you have to use these assets because they will make things move faster. That's what Chick-fil-A is saying. We have the original chicken sandwich, and we measure every single step of that production line to ensure that that chicken is consistent across the chain. Right?
Right on.
And then I thought it was also interesting that they actually measure the interaction of my experience with the team member. There are numbers for that. There are things that you can pay attention to that tells you, is my consumer actually getting what they want here? Even in the service industry, we use it. We know with accuracy, we know with precision. And I know I keep using those words, but they are important. That is why Chick-fil-A is who they are. And that is the reason why there's only 1% of service providers that are actually impacting lives and killing it at the game of business, is because they understand I have to obsess over the details for a very long time. I cannot graduate from the role of manager. Shane, I'm very interested to know how many of the owners are on the floor, filling the bags, measuring the accuracy, walking through the drive-through, I've seen them. I'm just
Yeah.
curious how many of the
Yeah.
owners you work with
All of
actually are
them.
at the store.
Yeah. All of them. Now they're not going
Right.
to be, working a station for an 8-hour shift, but they're going to
Right.
come in and inspect what they expect. They're going to have conversations with people who are shift leaders to say, hey, what's happening? What's your plan? What do you need from me? They're going to stay connected to the throughput of that whole operation and the care in which everything is delivered. There is not an absentee Chick-fil-A owner. It doesn't exist. There's not a thing. There's not a thing.
No, they are not working to graduate from working in the business.
That's right.
They're not trying to graduate from this idea of, I have seen owners actually walking the dining room and picking up trash and cleaning tables while they're talking to the consumers, because I guarantee they've got one or two questions they're always asking, and they're listening for precision. Are we hearing the same response or close to the same response? So we can ensure that we're actually meeting the demands of the people sitting in our dining room.
I'll tell you the other thing that I see that they're doing that I think if you step out of the business, you lose. They are modeling. They are modeling for everyone in that operation what the standard is. So if you got an absentee owner, the standard, there is no owner who cares. There's no team member who cares about the business as much as the owner does. I don't care how good the team member is. The owner has the opportunity to model the expectation that leads other people to rise up to it, that if they are absent, there's a natural drop because no one cares about the business as much as the owner does. So no one will model excellence at the level that the owner does.
That's right.
Yeah.
No. And the three things I hear you saying, and then Felicia, I would be interested to hear your take from the counseling viewpoint of how you're doing this, because once you hear this, I think it will open up a broader conversation here, because what I hear you saying, Shane, that Chick-fil-A focuses on all day, every day, market value, measuring, and modeling.
Right on. That's it.
And if you are an absentee manager, if you actually buy into this idea that you will eventually not have to work in your business, you are not focused on where is the market putting value? How do I measure that value and then actually duplicate it? And then how do I model what I'm expecting from the people around me, and also modeling the value back to the consumer if you're a solo owner. And if you are not, if your focus is on how do I get out as much out of this in the shortest period of time as possible, this is not the focus. You're in the bullseye. Everything you want is in the bullseye. And this is how that comes across to your market. Here is my stuff, buy it. I don't know what you want, but here's my stuff, buy it. Here's the price. Oh, you don't want that price? Well, let's negotiate, because I just need to get as much money. I need to squeeze as much money out of the next 5 to 10 years so I can get out of this thing and just coast through the rest of my life. Doesn't happen. That does not happen. You're never going to achieve this high standard of value and impact and legacy business models without focusing on, like, obsessing on where does your market put value, measuring that value, and then modeling that value over and over by your own actions and your own attention to the quality of the products and services. So Felicia, I'm just so curious, because in the counseling world, I think there's this perception that, and even in the coaching world, Shane, and I would even say it's in the consulting world, that that if you are getting referrals, then you're doing all the things right. Like, oh, there's like this arrogance of, oh, the people just come to me and I don't have to pay for new clients. Wow. Okay. Well, this is what I'm telling you. Chick-fil-A pays for advertising.
Yeah,
right. They are not relying on whoever shows up in the line. They are targeting the people they want coming through that line, that are then going to go tell their friends that look like them, this is what I want. So I'm really curious, Felicia, in the counseling world, I know there's this perception of, well, people just always need us, so they're coming. But that might be true to an extent, but to focus on quality of service and keeping the people that are walking into the counseling center, keeping them and the value they place on the work that you do at the center, how does that practically play out for you and your team?
I think probably the best way for us to kind of keep track of that is really to have conversations with each other. Like, what are we seeing? What are people looking for? How can we better deliver on what they want? And then we go out and we get training, and we consistently get training based off of what people are saying that they really want help with, they really need. And then we look at what we're offering, and are we offering everything that we could to meet that need, right? So for our practice, it focuses on people going through transitions, right? We are in Boston, right? Boston is the hub of colleges and universities. So you constantly have people coming in from high school and then leaving to go to work, right? You have people who are trying to make that shift from being under mom and dad's roof to being on a dorm or being in a group house. So there's a lot of changes that are coming up. So we constantly talk to the people that we're serving. What else do you think that we can do to help get you to where you want to be? What else can we do to make sure we're meeting those needs? And then we talk to ourselves and figure out, this is what we're hearing. This is what people are saying. We need to be more aware of people having a hard time connecting to people after they graduate from college. So how do we make sure that we're able to help support them in this way? How do we make sure we're able to help people figure out how to have that conversation with their professor, or how to have that conversation with their internship, just to be open and understanding about what your needs are and how to be able to express them. So we constantly have these conversations, not only with our clients, but with each other. And then we look at the ideas that we come up with. Oh, well, maybe we can do X, or maybe we can do Y. And talk to the people and say, well, would you be interested in that? Is that something that you think would be great? And if it's a no, then it's genuinely a no. It doesn't matter if we think it's a great idea. We're not doing it because we thought it was a great idea for us. We thought it would be what our clients need and what our clients wanted. And if it is a yes, then how do we put it together in a way that works for each individual, that doesn't make it almost impossible to reach? Oh, yes, I really do want this group, but I can't afford it. We have to listen to that too. So we talk to them about what it is that they can do, what it is that they can actually realistically afford, and then we go from there.
Yeah.
If the answer is no, we actually have to accept that.
And I think so what I hear you saying, how you protect your focus on the value that the market that you serve, those in transition, are going through, how you're measuring it, and then how you're modeling it is you're asking questions, you're listening, you're creating, you're listening again, you're reiterating, and you're making the decisions for them, not for yourself first. And as a natural byproduct, Felicia's counseling center in record time has blown open, opening their third location, and she's having to diversify investments because there's too much liquid cash sitting in the business. And so we've got to get that into some other investments. You didn't hear her saying that she's focused on serving X amount of people every month so she can reach this financial goal, right? Because Felicia has a set of numbers, which are her North Star, she doesn't have to worry about how is the money going to come in. The North Star creates predictability. I see that North Star, I make decisions off of principles towards that North Star. And how do I protect the numbers I want that North Star to produce? I focus on the value the market tells me. I measure that against the North Star. Are we achieving what the market told us they wanted from us? And then am I modeling that to my staff and also to my consumer by listening, by asking questions? That is how the process works, you guys. That's what management looks like. That right there, Felicia has just demonstrated to you. And Shane, I am just so curious as a coach, how are you actually protecting the market's value, measuring that value, and modeling that value as a coach?
So I think I'll go in reverse order. I'm going to start with the modeling. It would be a disaster if I led my clients to manage their time using certain tools if I'm not using those certain tools myself. It would be a disaster if I was talking to my clients about principles and the application of them in their business and I wasn't doing those things in my business. So that's the modeling. There's a level of integrity that if I can't lead you somewhere I've never been before. If I've never been to Disney World, I can't take you there. Now, there's an argument for GPS. I get that, but I'm saying I'd be more of like a travel agent than a tour guide. I can't take you through the intimate experience if I've never been there before. Well, coaching breaks down if that's the case. If I can't take you there because I've never been there, coaching breaks down. On the measuring side, I pay attention to four things, and that's it. Like I'm looking at how is it that I'm positioning, and there's a set of numbers that I'm evaluating against to say, is it working or is it not working? And it is, am I engaging in the conversation with my ideal client that I want to work with? And then there's, when I move out of positioning, it's developing. Like, am I continuing to develop tools that are solving real problems? I don't have one set of tools that I just say, you know what, set it and forget it. I don't do anything else. I'm looking and seeing how is the problem evolving that my client is facing? And based on that evolution of the problem and their own personal growth, what is it that they need and how can I create that so they get where they want to go? That's on the development side. Then on the sales side, again, I'm measuring not for the purpose of, am I hitting my revenue goal? That's a byproduct. Measuring the conversion to see, am I bringing relevance into this conversation to the place where someone is seeing the value at a rate that allows the business to be sustainable? There was a period in time, and Amy, you know this, I was like 1 for 29 in sales conversations. And the reason was I was at the center of the conversation. It took me measuring to be able to discover that. And then I had the opportunity to go to work on myself for the betterment of the people I was talking to. The final thing that I'll say is I'm measuring satisfaction. Do I actually love doing the work that I'm doing? Are the people that I'm doing the work for actually getting results that are life-changing for them? Are they experiencing higher levels of freedom, more peace, and achievement of their impact that they're after? Is that happening? If so, then I'm doing the thing that I'm supposed to be doing. So those are the things that I'm looking at in those three areas.
Yeah. Lean, lean, lean. I mean, that's Chick-fil-A, lean. They're lean. They might look complicated, but they're not. They're focused on four things. They're open 6 out of 7 days of the week. They are focused on, first, the value that their market says they want. I want it fast. I want it hot. I want it accurate. And I want to have a great experience. All right. So we're going to put humans in that line. And you don't have to rely so much on a box to speak to, right? There is these things that if you look at what they are doing, and you relate it to your service-based business, which is exactly what I did. I didn't look at Chick-fil-A, but I looked at other case studies like them. And this is what I found. Most of these really great companies that are not just selling a lot of goods and have a lot of following and look like they're just massively financially successful, but are they also like people love them? Is there brand loyalty, which is something that is elusive in today's market because of the internet? How do we capture that loyalty and love and friendship with our consumer? We have to focus on less and do it really, really well. So if you are listening to explicit teachers and business leaders and reading books that are telling you that there is 21 ways to business success, put it down. There is not 21 ways to business success. Okay. And if no one is giving you a set of numbers, they're not helping you. And if they are not talking to you about principles like honesty and accountability and how to have quality goods and services, they're leading you astray. You will end up losing everything if you do not embrace your role as manager with a set of numbers set as the North Star, keep an obsession on that, on others first, and lead from principles. If that is not the focus day in and day out, my friend, you are in decline and don't know it yet. You might be losing it all and actually don't see it yet. So I want to tell you this to help you. I wish someone would have had this honest conversation with me in the very beginning. And I'm grateful, Felicia and Shane, that you came on here, that you were willing to be honest and vulnerable and open with me and with everyone listening. And as we wrap up today, I don't want you to forget, systems run the business, but people run those systems. You